Okay, so in yesterday session we started understanding about the generating values, auto generation of the values for the primary key columns or identifier columns. We are generating values automatically. How we are generating, or in case when you created tables by using SQL script. So whenever the column values are auto generating, how we are going to configure inside the entity classes. That is how we understood, as well as in case if you want to create tables from the entity class itself, and at the same time the column values has to be generated by the, while DDL, while tables are creating, the column values has to be generated based on which strategy and all we are trying to understand by using JPI annotations. So what is the annotation we are using here? At the rate generated value annotation we are using here. So how many strategies we have? So total 5 strategies we have. First one is auto. Default one is auto. So that means if you are not given anything, internally JPI is looking for what? The sequence. Okay, sequence strategy. So yeah. So then second one is identity. So what is the meaning of identity here? It's kind of just like auto increment columns. Okay, the functionality, whatever is going to related to identity. So is it applicable to only column level, or is it applicable to any other stable level, or maybe it is an individual functionality? It's not a individual functionality, nothing but. So you cannot share this auto generated values with any other columns. Can we share it? No, right? So that is what the meaning of identity. It's applicable to only that respective column. So it's always operating on the same column. Whatever the latest value available, based on that it will increment the value. So that is what the meaning of identity column in Oracle. If it is MySQL auto increment, you guys will see it. And third one is sequence strategy. So that means in this case, how JPA is operating, what JPA is doing internally, JPA creating a separate sequence to generate the values. It is creating a new sequence. From the sequence, it is generating the values, right? So then fourth one is table. So what is the purpose of table? Here it is. So again, here also to maintain or to generate the primary key values or the identifier column values, they are taking help of table, a separate thought, a extra table they are creating, and along with that table internally they are using one more functionality called as sequences also. They are generating values by using sequences, and they are keeping the next value as part of a table level. So that means what will be the next value you can find out in the table. So whenever you are doing any save operation, it's picking a value from the table and inserting into our table, and the new table, whatever created, right? So that is updated with the next upcoming primary key value, or next upcoming generated value is already available in the table level. So you just observe the logs, you will understand. See, Hibernate sequences insert into, so they are inserting the default values and everything. Next value, something like that they are assigning, and they are just inserting into again order details, updating the table name, updating the table. So that means they are updating the next value. So whatever the next value setting here, they are updating every time whenever they are inserting into table level. So if you are observing this SQL logs in a flow, then you will understand internally how it is operating. Okay, next one is what it is? UUID. So what is the meaning of UUID here? Universally unique. Generally, what is the meaning of ID? Generally, people will say ID, employee ID, order ID, all these things. What is the meaning of ID? Identifier. Okay, identifier, right? So universally unique identifier. Okay, so what is the meaning of universally? Here it is. I'll just try to give my best. It's just understand. Okay, so let me open first a small description about UUID, how it looks like and all. I'll show you. Okay, so generally, okay, so UUID is nothing but universally unique identifier and all. So it looks like this. So I will generate and I will show it to you. Anyway, these will be created now in the tables also. Okay, so the universal identifier values are going to be created in this unreadable or maybe okay ununderstandable format. So what is the purpose of this? At what time people will use this IDs and all? I'll try to give you okay with my current project how we are using and all. I'll try to give you the knowledge. Okay, so now see here generally you have data types related to every database is supporting nowadays one separate data type called as UUID data type is there. It's being supported by every database nowadays, whether it is a Postgres, Oracle and everything. Okay, so this is UUID values. So how it looks like we will see. Okay, don't think too much about the UUID. I will just show you. I'll explain you. Okay. So here they are saying like whenever I just refer the UUID, okay, internally what is happening, yeah, encrypted or something like that only related only. See, the meaning of universally here is nothing but it's not like universal. Their intention here it is, the concept of universal concept here it is universal. The concept here it is the UUID values are generating with respect to universal concept here it is. For example, assume you have a database server. Okay, so here database server, for example, my computer is having database server or not? Yes, my computer is having database server. My computer is having Tomcat server. So can I call my computer as a database server? Yes, up to some extent, my system also, my laptop is also a database server only. So generally servers in the sense, you will see high-end configurations. Okay, so you will see very huge amount of RAM size, hard disk size. They will use different technologies to process the data very quickly and all, but it's nothing but a computer or not. Server is nothing but a computer only, right? So, but inside that, they will deploy the Oracle software. Inside that high-end system, they will deploy the Oracle database software. Then that server is calling as, that system is calling as Oracle database server. Generally, that is how people will call it as server. Okay. So fine. So here in the universal in the sense, with respect to my current PC, okay, computer point of view. So the values are generating internally. So the universal values are generating here in a format with respect to where is this? Yeah. So this is the format, right? So here they are generating some 128-bit values. So how these values are generating here it is by using something internally, they are using PC hardware, okay, registers, something like that. So it's all network, again, hardware concepts or something like that, but simply I'm telling you. So that means these values are generating with respect to PC, the computer hardware, it's involving something internally, the hardware registers concept, something like that. So here universal in the sense, the values which are going to be generated for a PC or a server level there is no chance of matching any two UUID values are generated on a system. So what is the point I given here? So when you are using a system or when you are working with any server, so is there any possibility of auto generated values? If you are generating millions of UUID values, is there any chance of matching two UUID values? No, that is what. So how they are doing here it is, internally they are taking help of some PC hardware registers, some concepts and all. Even I don't know more, okay. So somewhat they are doing. So here universal in the sense, is it like not entire universal? It's universal in the sense up to that server. Up to that server. So even though you are creating millions of UUID values, any two UUID values are going to be matched? No, right? So that is what the concept of UUID they are saying. For example, I'm generating, leave about the UUID. I'm generating, primary key values or unique values by using any sequence or maybe identifier column or whatever it is. Is there a possibility of, somehow accidentally or whatever it is, there is a possibility of creating same duplicate numbers or not? So definitely there is a possibility. For example, one time I created 1, 2, 3, 4, somehow, some other way. So there is a possibility of creating one more time 1, 2, 3, 4 also. So there is a possibility or not. So that's why then is it what is the problem here? It's violation of primary key rules or whatever we are expecting with respect to primary key functionality, it's happening with respect to violation or not. But here this UUID concept nowadays saying they are generating values with respect to your system functionality, system hardware and software point of view. They are making some encryption or whatever it is, internally functionalities. They are generating UUID values in this format. It will have 4 sets of data separated by the hyphen. Okay, don't worry about what is and all. So it looks like this, but no 2 UUID values are going to be matched, which are created under that PC level, which are created under that server level. So even though you are creating any number of millions of UUID values, okay, there is no chance of matching to UUID values. So that's why nowadays in a distributed application systems. So what is the meaning of distributed application systems? Distributed applications. For example, can I call Flipkart or Amazon as a distributed application? Yes. Distributed in the sense a huge large applications, like where it is having millions of customers or maybe billions of customers. For example, Facebook, Instagram, these are all things are what? Billions of distributed applications in the sense these are all very enterprise level applications, very big applications which are involving huge number of customers like that, right? So those kind of applications level, when you want to generate millions of per second or maybe per minute, when you want to generate millions of primary key values, it's very difficult to do with the numeric values always. Okay, and especially now you can say one thing, sir, okay, you are generating these values as a primary key values that you are saying, but for example, if I generated 1, 2, 3, 4 and I can share it to the users, your reference number is, your application is submitted or your account is created or your employee ID is 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that I can share. But then similarly, if UUID values are primary key values, then how we are going to share it with the customer or maybe for a person, for a end user, for a customer, right? So you got the point here. For example, when you are submitting the application form or maybe you are creating an order in the Swiggy. So immediately what you will get? You will get a order ID, right? Your order is submitted. Your order ID is like this. You are making a phone pay. You are getting what? A transaction ID, right? So the transaction ID, the order IDs, whatever you are seeing, is it going to be matched in entire database level with some other transaction IDs or some other order IDs? No, right? It's not going to match. It's completely unique for every customer. Even though you are doing n number of transactions, every time you will get a unique ID, and that unique ID is not going to match to any other customer transaction IDs also, right? That is what the functionality here it is. So in such case, if you are created primary key values in this format, so how you are going to share it with the customer? A customer or a end user or maybe a normal customer who is not that much educated or whoever it is, even though educated, think it. So they are going to remember these formats. So have you seen anywhere else this kind of formats when you are receiving as acknowledgement of transaction numbers, all these things? No, right? So that means especially these things are using nowadays with respect to relationships between the tables. Relationship between the tables. For example, I will give you one scenario in my table, how it is operating, I'll tell you. So in my current application, okay, so a patient is going to create an order. Creates an order with the prescription. So he will get a prescription and he will okay, so then once he is giving all the information from the prescription, whatever the medicine details he entered in a system or in his web application level, like what it is, Flipkart, something like that only, Swiggy, all these kind of things. So he will find out all the medicine. He's just having, okay, kind of the, if you are using anytime Tata 1NG applications, all these things are same. Okay. So here simply he is entering all the medicine details. Fine. So internally what we are doing, we are taking all the medicine details, we are reading, and finally we are creating an order. We are taking patient details, we are processing, okay, the entire medicine is available in the stock. So immediately we are creating a order. Okay. For example, assume now in this case, we are going to maintain not one table. So for prescription, for medicine details, one table, for order information, one table, for, okay, some other patient details, one other information. First of all, we have to see this patient is eligible or not. That's a different story. So in this case, how we are using order ID, I mean, in this case, how we are using these things is, for example, assume I have one more table called as order table. This is order details, assume, and one more table called as order follow-up table. Okay, order follow-up table. So what is the meaning of order follow-up here? So have you seen any time when you are placing orders in the Flipkart or whatever it is, are you getting order follow-ups or not? So how you are getting? Okay, your item is ready to deliver. Your item is ready to ship. Your item is getting packaged, right? So what is the meaning of all these notifications? They are following up with your order. That application is giving a follow-up to you. So what is the order? What is your order status? Today you placed, tomorrow you are getting a notification or you are getting an email. Your order is about to deliver. Your order is reached to your home city. Your order is going to deliver today night. Like that, you are getting couple of messages or not. So same kind of things. So this is what about the order follow-up. Now in this case, what these guys are doing. So at the same time, whenever patient created the order, he has to receive a acknowledgement number or not. Like you are getting order ID, order 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that, right? So each patient also has to get a order ID or not. So what we are doing here, we are generating the order ID. Okay, something like primary key values only, numeric values. So something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We are giving it to them. And at the same time, so in this case, what is happening? We are giving something like a column called as order ID. And one more. I'll give one more column name, something like source order ID. See, you cannot understand within 1 or 2 times. You just refer the UUID usage in the database and all, you will understand. But I'm trying to give my real example only. So see here. So now in this case, what these people are doing. So this UUID values, they are making primary key as a order ID. So order ID, they are making as UUID values and primary key values. Here, the 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever is created in a human readable format, the human understandable format, they are maintaining here. So when you are making relationship with the tables, so you have to make relationship with the tables or not. Generally in real-time applications, you will see a lot of relationships in between the tables. How can we achieve relationship in between the tables? In SQL, foreign key relationships, right? What is the meaning of foreign key relationship? So that's all a relationship, right? That's all a relationship. If existed, then only inserted. If it is deleting from the source, delete from the target. So these are all what relationships, right? So here what these guys are doing, they are maintaining this column as a foreign key column in the other table. So that means in the background application, entire architecture database level, the relationships between the tables are utilized or defined by which data type columns? UUID columns. So now whenever these guys are writing any queries, join queries, or maybe whenever a relationship point of view with respect to order follow up. So what is the primary key value here? This is what the primary key. So they are maintaining a foreign key relationship with the same UUID value into other table. Now whenever you are seeing with respect to order follow up, by using this UUID value, they are getting all the order details. So whatever the order status created, something like shipped, sub status, pending payment, payment status, something like that, whatever the values you are having. So all the values they are getting based on this primary key value with respect to this table. So that means what is the point you have to understand here it is, this UUID values are especially used with respect to maintaining the relationship between the tables. So it is giving a better results, or it is giving a easy way of, I can say like maintaining the primary key values with respect to foreign key columns, all these things point of view, people are using UUID values. So, but it's not like in a front end point of view, in a customer interaction point of view, these values are going to be used. No. So that's why these guys are created. So for example, one more patient created one more order. One more patient created one more order. Okay. Now what will happen internally? We will generate one more UUID value for that order. You will generate one more one and his source ID will become 4, 5, 6, 7, something like that. So this value we are passing to the actual patient level as a notification point of view. But in the relationships point of view, I have order follow-up table, some other tables also I will have generally. Okay. So in this case also I have to maintain a foreign key relationship with the order details table. So then I'm going to maintain foreign key relationship internally by using this column or this column. Yes, by using order ID column, by using these values, I'm making a foreign key relationship in between other tables. So whenever I'm just loading data based on the joins or based on the some mapping relationships point of view, so it's all I'm going to operate always on the actual source ID level or actually Actual source order ID level or this order ID level. So this one we are operating. So it's all relationships level or foreign key relationships point of view. People are using nowadays UUID columns. You just explore the bit you understand. That's more enough. Don't worry, but you just create your own UUID columns in your databases now. Okay, it is being supported by every database nowadays in latest versions. Even this is being added latest in the JPA also. Latest JPA versions you will find out. Okay, so see here how it is going to be generated now. Okay, sorry. So what I can give here, strategy is UUID, but what about the data type? So what can I give here? Can I give string? Yes, I can use string. Even I can use what? Apart from string, UUID can I use? In Java, do we have UUID? Yes, we have Java UUID. So for example, okay. So UUID, control C, control space Java dot util. In a Java dot util package, what is the class you have? UUID class you are having. Okay. So that means Java is also having a class called as UUID class. So random UUID. So that means what is going to happen now? So I'm just executing as a main method point of view, libvirt string. So what is this? UUID values are going to be created always in this format. So even Java is having or not. So even we can use string also to store these values. Okay, I'll give string data type. Okay, so let's go and create. So if you are creating table from the SQL script, then what is the data type you have to give for the order ID column? UUID data type you have to create not numeric or varchar. Okay. Okay, so let's do one thing. Okay, so what we are doing here, create order. So we are not passing any order ID value. So let's see how tables are getting generated, how data is inserted, how primary key value is created. So we need to understand now again. Sorry, I did not modify it. Okay, so UUID given. Okay, let it be run. Save it. Let me run one more time. Give me a second. I clicked on wrong item. So do you know? Okay, so what happened? Where it is? Okay, do you know null pointer exception? So how can we handle? Sorry? Optional class. Every time optional is not possible. Okay, every time optional is not possible. For example, assume I'm writing a method. So you are calling my method. My return type is string. My return type is string. Then how you are make sure optional? So whenever you are calling my method, I will always give you string value. So maybe then you will return. You will keep inside the optional. That's a different story. So if you want to do null checks, you have to do not null checks and all. You have to do. So why I am saying all these things is, it is the issue yesterday. I worked for almost 5 to 6 hours. Null pointer exceptions we are getting in our application somewhere else. We identified. So they are not written null check. So the entire application is not entire application. One of the functionality got broken. It's not working. So we fixed that issue yesterday. So I don't have, that's why I did not upload your material also. I just went to home and I got a call. We got production issue. Let's connect and let's resolve it. It taken until night 10. Okay, so let's execute. So please take care of, in interviews also they will ask it. Optional is yes. That is the purpose optional came. But still, if you want to do manual checks and all, so generally when you will get a null pointer exception? So when you are doing any activity on null value, when you are doing any activity on null value, like you are trying to find out the length, you are find outing the substring or whatever it is, you are trying to call setter method, you are trying to call getter method on top of null value, then you are going to get null pointer exceptions. So it's a very crucial exception in entire Java applications history. So people everywhere will find out the null pointer exceptions everywhere. It's a very, like everywhere it will involve or everywhere it will introduce lot of problems, the null pointer exceptions. So that's why even Java is also given as a solution of optional. That much important null pointer exception is. Okay, if you see here how the table is created now. Okay, so here order details, order ID. So they taken as where car2 here in this case, but still the values are generated as UUID. So we will convert it to the UUID also, the data type, then we will see how it is created. So as of now, we given string. That's why the data type is created as where car. But values are generated as a UUID values only. Let me open this. Order details. Okay, so see here how order ID is created now in a UUID format or not. So that is how you are going to create. But the data type is created as varchar. So let me change it as UUID now. So next time onwards, whenever the values are created for the order ID is always in the format of UUID format. Even if you see here, same thing, you can see in the table level. Let me give here UUID. So the table is created now. They taken a raw data type, order ID raw. A Postgres I am working, I know very well about the Postgres. I think raw is going to support as UUID in raw in Oracle. Okay, so these guys are taking raw also. So if you are giving choice to the JPA, they are taking data type as raw. Or you can create, when you are creating the table, let's show you, create table with UUID in Oracle. Okay, you can create table ID string as UUID. Okay. Okay, so that means even this case also, you don't have straightforward. In Oracle, you don't have straightforward UUID data type. They are supporting by using either varchar or raw data type. You can use either raw, but finally it is supporting UUID. But that's what I'm telling you. One database to another database, the data type names will be changed or not. Generally, varchar int number we will use in Oracle. If it is MySQL, something SQL server, it is integer. SQL server level, it is integer. If it is Oracle, number. So like that, data type names will be changing from one database to another database. Similarly, here also Postgres is having a different thing, or UUID in MySQL. I will show you in MySQL. Okay, storing UUID values. Even I don't know about MySQL. I'm just opening right now. Create table user varchar. See, these guys are also taking as varchar only, but still they are supporting binary. Okay. So here these guys are in Oracle, it is calling as raw. So these guys are calling as binary. But the raw binary, these are all supporting which data type values? UUID values. So we are using Postgres in my application. So here they given directly data type as UUID. So that's why I told you like we have a data type called as UUID. But if it is Oracle, what you can use? Raw you can use. If it is MySQL, binary they are using. If it is Postgres, they are directly given name itself as UUID here itself. Okay, so you guys are understanding now what is the UUID. So you understood at what time you are using UUID. That is what the main important here. So it's all enabling the relationship between the tables in a backend level. When you want to do functionality in the backend application level, when you want to load data between 3 to 4 tables by using some foreign key relationships and all, so that you have to maintain a relationship between the tables by using some foreign key relationships, or maybe there is a concept called as joining columns. Okay, what is the joining column? You will see today only. So there is a concept of joining column. So that means whatever the column you are having at side A table level, in the B table level also, you will have one more column with the same values. Like that, you will have a joining column concepts, all these things. So based on all these things, your database architecture is designed for every real-time application. So you have to be strong in foreign key relationships. Okay. Do you know what is the meaning of cascading in SQL? Cascading, did they provide it? So what is the meaning of cascading in SQL? Not Java, nothing JPA. It's only SQL concept. Cascading. What is the meaning of first of all cascading? Forwarding. Nothing but forwarding, right? So if I given information to you and I told you like, please cascade this information to your friends. So that means what is the meaning? The same message you have to forward to the next level of your friend, something like that, right? So in cascading operations in SQL is nothing but what? When you are having foreign key relationship, employee versus address. Anyway, that is what the concept of JPA relationships. So I'll explain. Okay, so this is all about the auto-generated values. Now let's focus on the important concept of JPA relationships. So mappings, or people will call it as mappings also. So what is the meaning of relationships here? Relationships between whom or what? Between? Yes, tables only. Okay, so between the tables, we are going to maintain the relationships. So how we are going to maintain? What are the annotations provided by the JPA? Okay, to what kind of relationships are available in our tables, and what are the annotations provided by the JPA framework? When you are dealing with the relationship between the tables, we need to understand one by one slowly. Okay, first of all, I will try to give you details about the relationship. So at what time you are involving the relationship and all. So these kind of things. For example, this is a relationship or not. So when you will do the order follow, when order is existed, then you will do the order follow. When order is not there, are you going to make insertion in this table? Are you going to make insertion in this table? When order is successfully created, then you are making entry in this table like, okay, a new order is coming into our database, our system. So going further, it's your responsibility to follow up the order status. Whatever the status it is, like that, you are making immediately a record inside the one more table. So that is how you are making the relationships. So in a simple format, for example, assume when you are filling or when you are seeing any real life application, sometimes you will see, or else I will just take first basic example. Let's see. I have a table called as employee table versus address table. I will take. And I have table called as address table. Okay, so this is one scenario. Second scenario is I have one table called as employee info. Employee info. So for example, I want to take details of employee registration form and I want to store inside the database. For example, what are the details I'm getting here? It is name, email, password, or let's leave it normal details. I'll take contact, something like gender. Okay, these are all. As well as I am collecting address details also for the same employee. So he belongs to Hyderabad. He belongs to something like Amirpet area, whatever it is. And PIN number, I don't know. So, and TS state, India, something like that. You are collecting all these details, maybe his home address or whatever it is. First line, second line, something like that. Okay, you're collecting all these details. So you have to store all these details inside the database. From your front end, you are getting all these details. You have to store inside the database. Now what I'm doing here it is, I'm making details like this, columns, name, email, contact. Okay, so gender, something like city, something like pin code. Okay, first line, something like, or landmark or something like that. Landmark, state, okay, country. So etc. I'm just making columns like this. So in this case, what is going to happen? The details are going to stored in one table. Okay, the details are going to be stored in how many tables? Only one table. For example, assume I entered Dilip and Dilip@gmail.com. Okay, so I given my details, pin code, something like 5,72, something, etc. Hyderabad, India. So something like that, we are storing the information. So here, generally we know that every table will have a primary key column. So assume I made email ID as a primary key column. Email ID as a primary key column in my table point of view. So then tell me, I want to store one more address of the same user. So I want to share my native address now. I want to add. So sometimes when you are filling any application forms, they will ask two addresses. One is your current address. Second one is your permanent address. So why they are asking? Maybe there is a need, business need or whatever it is. So when something they want to share it with the current address level, something at permanent address level. But whatever the reason it is, they are collecting how many addresses? Two addresses. But customer is, for single customer, they are collecting two addresses. Some of the applications will collect only one address. They will not, a normal application or whatever it is, kind of Naresh IT, they will not bother about your and all. But net banking applications or say maybe some other crucial applications, they will try to all your details as much as possible as a security reason or whatever it is, right? So in this case, if I want to store one more address, at the same time, my email ID, so they are asking like, okay, what is your next second email ID for the second address like that in any application they are asking? No, right? So you will enter your name, your email ID, your phone number. In below, they are asking current address, city, state, all these things. Permanent address, city, state, all the details again. One more time. So that means in this case, if I want to store one more time, so is it possible to take? So what is the problem? So here I can give, yes. So here I can give my own PIN number or whatever it is, or native place, and I will give. Okay. So then how can you do that? What is the problem here? It is primary key violation. So you cannot keep again two primary keys. At the same time, can we ask the customer, can you give one more primary key value or one more email ID so that I can store two addresses? It's not a good architecture, right? It's not like that. So then that is the problem. What people will do? They are segregating the things into small tables. Now in this case, what I'm doing, same name, same email ID. Okay. So contact. Okay, so followed by gender. And then what I will do, I will maintain one more table for the address. So here I will maintain some unique ID, address ID or whatever it is. Employee ID, city. Okay, so whatever it is, landmark, city landmarks. So whatever we taken, pin code, state, country, like that. I just taken the details here. Now I designed my architecture, table architecture like this, and I'm making a information like this. See now, Dilip, Dilip at the rate gmail.com. Okay, so etc. I will give, and here I will make one. Okay, so for example, assume in place of employee ID, the primary key column is employee ID only. Okay, instead of email ID, let's take employee ID also. So here I'll enter like one. Okay, so now in this case, employee ID I given one, and I given my current address details as maybe. So here I will maintain one more column also, assume like address type. So whether it is a permanent or whatever it is current. So city wise, I will give Hyderabad, and landmark something like Amirpet or whatever it is, pin code, some pin code, and state, Telangana state, India, something like that I given, and followed by the, it's just like current address. Assume I given like current address, something like that. Now I want to insert one more address of the same employee. So can I do that or not? So what I have to do, I need to make anything in the employee table level? No, right? So then where I have to do second address insertion? I have to make inside the table called as address table level. So what I have to do? Can I create address ID 2? What is the value I have to give here? 1. Exactly. So now here I will give the actual address, whatever I have. Okay. So something like that I will give some pin number and followed by the AP and followed by the India. So is it just like permanent address? Something like that I will give it. Okay. So now tell me, do you have any problem with this current architecture? Current table architecture? So here you are having a lot of problems. So you cannot, so that's why what people will try to do based on the functionality, based on the data, whatever we are having, they will not maintain large number of columns in a single table itself to keep every data. Okay, they will try to make sure the unique data or the data related to one table, and in case if the data is okay, is related to another functionality kind of data, they will create one more table for the another functionality. They will make relationship between these two tables. Now in this case, how do you know that? Now for example, tomorrow I ask you, so can you give me employee ID 1 details? I want address details of employee 1. How will you find out? So simply, for example, assume you are going to the employee ID 1 or you are going to this table and you are identifying address details or not. So 2 details you are getting automatically, right? I will give one more solution. Address ID I maintain here. No, I will explain that later. I can't confuse. I don't want to confuse you. Okay, so it's simple or not. For example, the relationship is, let's go step by step. So is it maintaining a relationship with this table or not? How many addresses? 2. Now tomorrow, if you are inserting one more customer information to something like Naresh or whatever it is, etc., etc. So I given 3 followed by what is the employee ID? 2. So similarly, the details provided here 4 and again employee ID 2. For example, sometimes very rare case, couple of applications will ask you, do you have any another address also? They will give some plus symbol in your front end point of view. If you are clicking, they will open one more third address also. So then you are going to give your third address or something like that. So can I add third address also or not? Yes, you can add now. Right? So this is how you are making the relationship between the tables, depends on the requirement point of view and all. So tomorrow when you are asking, I want employee ID 2 details, then how many addresses you are getting? 3 addresses you are getting. So like that you are making the relation. Now the point here, it is cascading. What is the meaning of cascading here? So this is all actually a SQL concept. So what is the meaning of cascading? See, for example, sorry. So I will ask same thing here. Let's do one thing. Okay. Now tell me one scenario. In address table, can I insert data individually without employee info. Is it possible? Without employee info in the sense ID. So is it possible? In address table, can I insert data individually without employee ID? Then what is the meaning of address? From where you are getting that address? The employee table and address table both are in relationship. Something like when employee is presented, then only you have to make sure address table level, the values are presented. The values are presented. So that means tomorrow, first time user is registering his details. So user is registering his details. So whenever you are inserting data, insert data in employee table, immediately what you have to do? You have to insert data inside address also. Whatever the details you collected for the employee registration level, whatever the details you got for the address area, address details, immediately in the same single address, in the same single step of registration, in how many tables you are doing the insert operations? 2 tables you are doing the insert operation, right? So one you are making first at the employee table and immediately you are making insertion at the second table also. Fine. So second, now in somehow when you are making employee ID or inserting at employee level, the insertion is failed at the employee table. Some reason. Maybe assume you are inserting one more time with same employee ID. By mistakenly or whatever it is, your insertion is failed at employee table level. So what is the meaning of? Can you insert data into address at that time? No, right? So this is all about the cascading the operations, cascade operations. That means when insertion is happening at the table A or table B, side A, side B, source or target, I can use any terminology. So when insertion is happening at a source table level, the associated relationship table level, same insertion has to be happened. So that is what the meaning of cascading, forwarding. The insertion happening at source level and you are forwarding same operation to the, you are performing same operation on the associated relationship table level. So this is all about the cascade. Tomorrow, for example, the employee left the organization and you have to delete employee ID. Employee details you have to delete. Somehow you are deleting employee details. Okay. So in this case, are you going to delete details only from the employee table and are you going to leave as it is in the address? Then what is the keeping of? Generally, these records will be called as now what? Orphan records. I mean, in a terminology point of view, these records will be called as orphan records. Orphan in the sense, these records are having any relationship now with any other columns. Is it having any employee? So this became orphans, right? So that's why people will call it as orphan records. Okay. So that means, are we going to maintain orphan records? So when you are deleting, you deleted, that's fine. So you deleted from the employee table. Then what about the address table? So that means you have to delete associated details from the address table or not. So that means this time what kind of operation you are cascading? Delete operation. So that means at parent level or maybe at source level, whatever the operation you are performing, delete operation, immediately you are cascading that operation to the respected relationship table or not. So that's what you are doing the delete here also. So when insertion, when delete. Like that, you are performing the what? The cascading of the operation. This is what the meaning of cascading operations. You can achieve these things in a SQL also. Okay. So by using foreign key relationships, you can achieve all these things in the, by using SQL functionality also, you just explore it. But the same cascading operations, we can define, see, one small thing here it is. When we are able to do something by using SQL, anything that has to be covered by the JPA framework or not, 100%. Otherwise, we cannot use entire database functionalities when JPA is not supporting entire functionalities. Somehow, then are we going to use JPA framework into our projects? No, we will use manual SQL scripts or whatever it is. So that means for every database level functionality, whatever database is providing, everything is going to be available in the JPA. So that means something I'm discussing in the JPA in the sense, it's a indirectly same concept. Can we achieve by using manual SQLs or also not? SQL scripts. Manually also can we achieve or not in the database level? So that is how you have to understand. Now the same cascading operations you can achieve. Okay, yeah, whatever the concepts, I don't know. Okay, you just understand that. Cascading in Oracle. So see here, on delete cascade. So these are all operations. So on delete, in between 2 tables, Okay, create tables, something like that. Okay, this is one table. You just explore it. I don't want to take. So cascade foreign key relationships. That's all. Based on the foreign key relationship only you can do that. So this is a foreign key relationship or not? So the value. So whatever I just associated this, is it a foreign key relationship or not? So what is the meaning of foreign key relationship? When you are making this column as a foreign key relationship, so if source level the record is available, then only the respective record will be inserted here. That's how you are maintaining the foreign key relationship. So the value should be presented in the source level, then only target level, the record will be inserted. So that is what the foreign key relationships and all. Foreign key relationships on delete. What is this? Cascade operation. So that means they are saying like whenever I'm deleting table, okay, so with respect to reference table, parent table, okay, this is table name, this is parent table. So whenever I'm deleting something from the parent table, it has to delete from the child table. So that is what the cascade operation we are also discussing now. So when I'm deleting a record from the parent table, it has to delete from the here also. So sometimes you can enable cascade operations for the inserts also. You can enable cascade for the insertions as well as updations also. Okay, when you are doing data, for example, assume employee sent a request. Employee sent a request. He want to correct his first name from Dilip to Dilip Singh. His name is available as Dilip, but he want to update as Dilip Singh. And at the same time, he identified one more mistake, something like, okay, so maybe his pin code is wrong. So along with name, he entered his correct pin code also. Okay, so simply I'm giving. So these two details he given. Now tell me in how many tables the update operation has to be done? 2 tables. So this has to go on the employee table in this value level. This has to go inside this table level. I mean this column level. Then how many tables? 2 tables. What operation here it is? Is it insert or delete or update? It's update operation or merge operation. Merge is nothing but update only, right? So that is how you can perform the cascade operations. Okay, by using SQL or the same functionality is being provided by the JPA framework also. So you understood how we are going to achieve the, let me save it first. So what you guys are understanding what is the relationship between, what is the relationships now in between the tables? Okay, so what is the point of relationship in between the tables? You understood? So that you are making dynamic things in between the tables when you are doing insertion, insert, delete, or when you want to load details also, you have to load details from the 2 tables to achieve the primary key constraints, all these things and all. We will segregate functionality or we will segregate the requirements based on the requirements. We will define n number of tables in a database level, in an application level. For example, if I take in my current project, we have almost around 100 tables. Around 100 tables we have, and every table minimum will have 10 to 15 columns minimum. Some tables will have around 25 to 30 columns also, but they will not make more than that. They will segregate as another table when there is a limits again. Limits in the sense you can create 100 columns also at a time, but it's not good. So some design oriented, some SQL experts, okay, they will make all these SQL things and all. Okay, so fine. So let's do one thing. Now fine, relationships point of view, we just have a demo now. And how many types of relationships we have? Let's understand. How many types of relationships we can achieve in between the tables? There are 4 types. Okay, even it is possible in our same way, even in our human life also. So one is one-to-one. Second one is, yeah, same thing, one to many. So 1 to n is number of. Many to 1. Fourth one is many to many. Okay. So is it clear? So these 4 types of relationships we have. Do we have any other relationships? right? No, we don't have any possibilities, right? Okay. So now what is the meaning of one-to-one relationship, one-to-many or many-to-one, many-to-many here? At what scenarios you are going to define what kind of relationship, okay, in between the tables we have to understand in a theory oriented again. So for example, tell me with your understanding, what is the meaning of one-to-one relationship? At what time you have to go with the one-to-one relationship? One table, another table. So it's is the relationship between the tables. At the same time, this relationship comes in between the tables or table records level. Records level. Okay. So overall relationship between the tables, but individually, when you are going to the nested level, so the relationship is happening between the records level. Records level. Okay. Okay. So see here now, same example I will try to take. For example, your requirement is demanding. It all depends on the requirement. You have to define the relationships. Okay. Okay. So the requirement is I'm creating a application and I want to take user registration. User has to register with my application always. Okay. So, and I want to collect per user only one record. Only per user, sorry, only one address. So somehow I don't want user addresses or whatever it is. My application is a normal application and somewhere else. You can see, right? A lot of applications will ask you only one address, right? So you can give anything else. So like that, your requirement is demanding how many addresses? Only one address you have to take. So in this case, you can't allow second address. So that means when you are making tables also employee versus address, individually, when you are making one, okay, so something like Hyderabad or whatever it is for the employee ID one. So even though next address you are trying to make for the same employee in the same user, like one more address, you should not allow. You should not allow. So you have to say, you have to restrict. You have to restrict with the relationship. So generally, if you created tables, employee comma address without relationships, can you do this or not? You can insert 1,000 records also you can insert for the same employee. But how you are going to restrict? You have to maintain relationship between the tables and you have to maintain relationship between one-to-one relationship in the specific requirement point of view. So that means you are going to define relationship between this table to this table as a one-to-one relationship. So that means what is the point here? It is one-to-one relationship. Here it is when employee one is available in the table level, in the address table level, how many records has to be available? Only one address has to be available. When even though you are trying to insert second address at the address table, it has to throw some exception to you. It has to give some exception to you. Okay, sorry, I cannot insert more than one relationship. Sorry, I cannot store more than one address information. I can store only one because you defined the relationship between this table versus this table as a one-to-one relationship. So then you are restricting the insert operations. You are restricting the insertions on the associated relationship table level, the parent-child table level. You are restricting the child records more than one. So that is what the meaning of. So that means now I have one more record, employee 2. So how many addresses I can maintain here? Only one I can maintain. Similarly, I have one more employee added to my table, one more user. So how many addresses I can maintain? Only one. So like that, you have to make sure. And cascading point of view, whenever I am inserting employee details, immediately I have to insert in the address table also. Whenever I deleted from the employee table or user table, I have to delete from the user table also. Insertion wise, you have to restrict. When you are doing the cascading operations, like insert and delete, and also the respective cascading operations has to be happened on the respective child table level. Whatever you are performing on the parent level, it has to done on the child table level also. So you have to restrict all these things so that you cannot insert accidentally or by mistakenly someone else or some other program cannot insert data into this address table level. Okay. So that is why you have to make sure all these things. The relationship you have to enable between one table to another table. So what is okay, this is all about one-to-one you will define by using JPA and all. Now what about the another scenario? the previous example, I taken two addresses, current address and permanent address. What it is? 1 to, if it is more than one address, it's simply many only. So then what is the relationship? 1 to many relationship. So that means how many records? One in the sense, which side one record? Parent side. Many in the sense, many records. One Dilip employee ID is one. So one Hyderabad, one Guntur, one something like that you given. Two Naresh, two Hyderabad, two something else. Like that you are storing n number of many records. One record is having a relationship with how many records? Many records of the opposite table. So that is what the relationship of 1 to many. Now similarly many to 1. Many to 1. Students versus trainer. So how many students are there? So many. So when it comes to trainer, only one trainer. Okay. So little bit confusing you will observe. Okay. 1 to many to 1 point of view, sir. At what time, which relationship I have to give? So when I'm looking with my perspective, 1 to many. I am the trainer to students, 1 to many. Students versus trainer, many to 1. So that means the requirement, based on the requirement, at what table you are taking as a primary, or at what the person or whatever the concept whatever the object you are taking as a primary, from there you have to define the relationship. For example, trainer is the important. Trainer oriented, you are doing all the operations. Then what is the relationship? 1 to many. Trainer oriented, you are doing all the logic. So 1 to many. Sometimes you are writing a logic, then the primary thing is students. So the operations are the things, everything happens with respect to students' functionality. Then what kind of relationship you have to maintain? Many to 1 relationships. So like that, based on the relationships point of view, what you have to do? You have to define the relationships based on the requirement. We will see all the examples practically also. Yeah, many means more. Is it not only 2, 2, 3, 10, anything? Okay, what about the many to many? What about the many to many? Students versus courses, right? So students, you guys are having, many students are availing or registering with the many courses. When you take in the courses also, the same courses are going to have many students. So I will take you in practical point of view, don't worry. So just before leaving the class, just generalizing the things with respect to relationship point of view. Okay. So this is all about the relationships. Even we will discuss everything practically. So you know very well about the relationships now. Okay. So we will see practically in tomorrow class. Okay, tomorrow Saturday only, right? Yeah. So tomorrow we have a class. So we will see first 1 to 1 relationship very clearly. See, I will tell you one more thing. First example, I will explain very clearly. 1 to 1 relationship, I will explain very clearly. Table by table, column by column and everything. What is happening and all. But the next time onwards, little bit, the next 3 relationships, I will explain. But little bit, I will not go again in depth. The thing is, only thing is small differences will come with respect to one relationship to another relationship. Okay. So please concentrate tomorrow and we will connect on tomorrow. So that's all. Let's connect on tomorrow.